Okay, so here we are again, day 43 of the Cat, and we're getting there. Been shooting the remaining footage and got a rough edit of that going now. I'm not quite end to end, but getting there, very close. In rough form this is, say more about that in a minute. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. So I'm hoping that, it's Tuesday now, hoping by the weekend have something to show, possibly finished even. It's going out on a limb slightly there. I've been shooting basically the water start, the departure and the en route. Got the edit of that going a couple of days ago. And what I'm working on now, I might as well just show you this as we're talking. This over on this side, what you've seen before is over here. So this is the long reach circuit, which is going to be familiar. And even at this stage. So that's all what you've seen before. What I've done, if you see over at this left hand side of the timeline, over here this is all new. So if I zoom in on that, it's still a very rough edit. This introductory sequence is just a bit of a mess at the minute. Far too long, and there's no commentary over it, but sort that out. Got the engine start there, which I want to feature. I'll say more about the detail as we go, but we've basically got that. We're on the water. We just start the taxi right away, and basically all we do is taxi out and then take off, and I'm talking on the commentary about the takeoff run. And then we're at Aeropelican here, so we just take off, make a 180-degree turn more or less, fly over Aeropelican, show off some of the scenery. That's the airport right there. Don't actually land at that airport. Got some nice clouds here, so we get some good aerial shots. So we fly basically overhead and then make another 180, fly up the coast a little bit, turn inland, and that's it. Then there's a transition from there to the arrival at Longreach. So I've been shooting the arrival at Longreach as well, and that's at the end of the timeline at the minute. It's actually, it's got a drop in. Yeah, if you look here, this is the departure I've just described. This is the Longreach circuit. The bit I'm editing at the moment goes in the middle there. It's the transition, and at the moment I've got it up the end of the timeline because I wasn't quite sure how long it was going to be. That's very rough, but I've got the commentary more or less fits over it. There's a bit of slack in the commentary. I might lose this bit about the carburetor heat. This is pretty important to monitor, is the carburetor intake temperatures, particularly when you're flying. That's just a bit I'd recorded, which doesn't really fit in anywhere, but it helped me just make that sequence a little bit longer. The transition is essentially, we've got that nice shot. This is a shot I filmed at Aeropelican, which got a really nice shot just going through the clouds and looking up out of the cockpit. So that's a nicely anonymous, you can't tell where that is, so that's going to be an en route shot. So it's really just flying into the airspace of Longreach. A nice overhead shot there showing the ground scenery and that gorgeous dirt strip. There's an out the window view, and really not showing the entire circuit. As usual, I filmed an awful lot more stuff that I can possibly use here. Straight into the approach there. Now interestingly, I had to make this just in terms of the detail of this, kind of tied to what some of the stuff that you mentioned in the commentary. So I'd mentioned Longreach Airport being the home of Qantas, and I said something about that's why I got these static aircraft on display. And of course, that part of the commentary, you have to be looking at the static aircraft. So I put myself in a bit of a corner there, but it's why I've got that sequence in on the approach, where we're showing those aircraft in the background, the Qantas airliners. It's a 707 and a 747-200. Another important thing here is on the approach, I spent a lot of time on this. You might not see it very well on this blog, but there's a chipmunk parked there that we see just as we're coming into on the approach. I shot lots of ways of showing that. I did it, well, I could show you some of them actually. This one, oh, you won't see that very well. Let me just make that window slightly bigger. So that's an outside spot plane shot. You can see it's flying over the chipmunk there. I did all sorts of variations of that. Yeah, there it is. So again, I mean there it's hardly visible at all because it's going to be very small in the video, but why was that important? Well, that's important, I'm going to move that over there, because as you know, as I've said before, I've got the chipmunk is implicated in the chase sequence, so I wanted just to have that link when we arrive at Longreach to there. And actually for showing the edit, what happens is, so we come down on the approach, we see the chipmunk out the window, then we cut to the actual touchdown, and then we see the chipmunk actually start to taxi, and it's taxiing up towards, now you've got to imagine this is the cat's basically ended up at the far end of that runway, which as you recall is where the next sequence starts. So it's as if we've landed, taxied up to the end, turned round, and as we do so the chipmunk's taxied up to the far end as well, and that sets us up nicely for the next sequence, which as you recall is the cat taking off and the chipmunk taking off straight after it as a chase plane. So a lot of thought goes into this. This is really just a linking sequence. Had to have as I say, some sort of transition between the departure and arrival, and then it has to really have an arrival at Longreach to set the scene. Spent far too much time on this. I mean, you see from all these clips up here, I once again shot 10 times as much footage as I really need. The real temptation, you know, I mean, I could do a 3 or 4 minute video of just the entire circuit at Longreach, the arrival, and it would look nice, but it would be just boring, it would be out of place, and I wouldn't have any commentary to go over it. I did do some, again using FS Recorder, did some nice, well, potentially would have been very scenic shots of sitting on the runway close to the chipmunk, and then have the cat land. Yeah, there's a one. So the cat comes in and it lands. Now that's nice, there's variations of that. Here's another one. Oh, this is a really nice one where you actually get to see it touch down. So it serves the same purpose. Watch this touchdown here with the smoke. See, that's nice. I had that in for a while, and it serves the same purpose as and arguably better of setting the scene of the chipmunk waiting for the arrival of the cat, and then the taxi's going to start. The reason I can't use this really is whenever you film 2 aircraft using an FS Recorder playing one of the aircraft as traffic, there's this jerky sort of feel that just doesn't work in my experience anyway. So again, shot lots of that, had lots of experiments trying to get that to work, but we're okay. We've got this transition sequence. What I'm about to do next is really take that and drop it into the gap between these 2 sequences and trying to make it work. I'll do that later. I'm just going to say a bit about the Aero Pelican footage. Again, if I go and show you the source material for this, absolutely masses of clips. Well, not masses, how many is that? 42 clips or something there. A lot of it's very scenic, a lot of it's fantastic stuff, most of it's not used. And actually, you know, when it comes to the edit, it's a very frustrating time because you've taken real pains over and you get carried away really shooting all this gorgeous footage. Many of them, you know, you just don't get around to using, and in practice what you do is you just get to the point where you say, I've got to, you know, I can stress over this so much, but I've just got to chuck some stuff onto the timeline, try and fit it to the commentary, get the length right, get the sequencing right. Say more about sequencing just a minute. So you end up just slapping on whatever comes to hand and looks about right, and more often than not that more or less largely makes it through into the final edit, because really what you realise is it doesn't actually matter that much what you use. What's important is obviously continuity is important. So you've got for example, some of these shots they're filmed with the floats up, the floats down, because FS Recorder doesn't play back the float, doesn't know about the float, so sometimes by accident I've filmed something with the floats down by mistake. So you got to make sure you're not showing something that's long after the takeoff with the float still down after you've shown them being taken up. So continuity is obviously important. Apart from that, really, there's a bit of a grammar to editing, which I don't fully understand, but I mean, essentially, what we're trying to convey here is, without, you know, in any sense stating it, we're conveying travel in a particular direction. So I mean, there's work on 2 levels. The first level is this: we're travelling in a particular direction. So we're putting out from the dock, turning right, taxiing out, making a sort of 90-degree turn to the left, and then taking off. And then straight after takeoff we're making a right turn, which is followed all the way around into a kind of a 270-degree turn, which puts us back flying overhead the tie down, and then we fly over Pelican Airport. I can show you this here, which is really down the coast, and then we make a 180 shortly after this, and then fly back up the coast. Now we can do all sorts of cutting from clip to clip there, but what we mustn't do is interrupt inadvertently the sense that of that geography, really. So, you know, anything that cut, for example, in a shot. See, we've turned now up the coast. We can't obviously include a shot that has us flying that sort of cross the coast or down the coast again, because it, you know, without even necessarily realizing or recognizing specifically what's wrong, it jars, it's incongruous. I've broken some sort of editing rule right there, look at that. Right to left. Actually, no, I haven't. You see, there again, you see, your instincts sometimes work better than you think. That's right, that's just completing the right turn. I'm going right to left. That's right to left from a different angle. And then I'm swinging the camera around. I'm moving into a sort of central position, turning the view there. We're keeping that left. Yeah, that's right. We're switching. That's very clever, actually. Right to left, swinging round, central, swinging that way. So now I've got left to right movement. Cut to an external shot, which is left to right. Continue that. I'm in the right-hand seat here. Interior shot, still going left to right. Back to an external shot, left to right, swinging into a left-hand turn to set up for the approach, and then there you go. So, you know, there's a lot of sequencing there that's doing a lot of subtle, I don't know, people do refer to this as grammar. It's a grammar of film editing there, and it's very subtle, but it's what makes it work. You know, if sometimes you're watching your video back and thinking, hang on, there's something wrong there, I can't put my finger on it, it's maybe that sort of thing. What I'll do, hopefully by today, I'll get this transition in, and the transition will more or less work. And really after that, it's I've got to tidy up the intro section, just make sure that's going to work. Then it's a question of making sure the background sounds, so they're all there, they're present, but not intrusive, and they're all balanced, and they all kind of make sense. A couple of sound effects, you know, which I'll revisit, like here, yeah, where the chase plane flies overhead. These are quite close to the centre line. Right here. So the immediate priority is to maintain. You get that? That's a sound effect. It's actually the engine spinning down, sound of the engine spinning down, but it's actually does a reasonable stand-in for I suppose a Doppler effect as you past the aircraft in flight. So I'll probably leave that in, just tweak the volumes. That's it, that's all I can tell you really. So day 40, whatever it was, 43, been a bit of a long haul this one, and I don't really have a feeling yet how this will hang together as a you know, again, I mean, I've been careful to point out that this is going to be impressions of the cat, not a review, because it's not really a review, it's a review of a very small part. It's not even a review in that sense, it's kind of a mixture. There's a review, you know, in the sense there's critical commentary about the manual and the level of simulation, but it's really about just the experience of flying it in some very well demarcated ways. Yeah, so there you go. That's day 43. A little bit more tweaking to do, and we'll be back. This is day 47 with the cat, and it's done. It's just done, rendering as I speak. So most of today has been spent really just figuring out what to cut out. I mean, there were various bits I could have cut out. I'm reluctant to cut anything out, because by the time I get to this stage, it's, you know, more or less has in what I want to say. But I'm fairly happy, you know. I'm up and down on these things, but while you're going through it, I mean, you have great ideas, you have to make loads of compromises, you have to throw things away, you get stuck, you can't make things work, you can't fit things together, there's continuity problems, and you really get kind of disillusioned about what the end product's going to come out, and you kind of lose faith, a bit like writing actually. You lose faith in what you're doing, and then when you get to the end and you watch it back, especially if you give it a couple of days off, you know, you get a much better impression of the thing as a whole. And I'm pretty happy with this as a review. It's an overall positive review because it's a good product. The only criticism that's in there, as I've said all along, is about the documentation, really. So that remains in there. But I'd recommend the product to people. Other miscellaneous things to say about the editing process. It's all very straightforward, you know. And I've mentioned before that in terms of trying to spend too much, you know, waste too much heartache really on getting brilliant footage and excellent, well, photography, I suppose. Well, the render's done, so I'll have a look at that in a minute. You know, it's kind of a waste of effort really, and in the same way, the actual editing is best kept simple. So many of these videos you see on YouTube, they're just full of stupid effects and transitions and stuff, and it's, you know, it doesn't do the videos any favours. So we're just using simple cuts, straight cuts for the most part. A couple of places use the dissolve, and that's basically when, you know, to me it dissolves almost an admission of you've given up trying to get the edit to work right. Dissolve just suggests a kind of an interval or passage of time really, but it's not too bad. That's okay. I'm not knocking the dissolve. It's a device in its own right. So apart from that, the only other kind of transitions are fade to black or from black. Let's go handheld and we'll watch the rendered video back and see what we think. 435 megabytes. Here we go. This is it. This is First Blood. This will be some impressions of the PBY Catalina from Aerosoft. Cat was commissioned as a patrol bomber by the US Navy, built by Consolidated Aircraft. So this is it. In 1935. This is the first time I've seen the results, and I'm not actually watching it because I'm watching the screen of the camcorder to make sure I've got my framing right. Let's just skip ahead to the credits. The cat's nicely engineered, something like a Cessna 172 complexity, but oh, that looks pretty damn good when it's full size, gotta say. Here we go, credits. That looks pretty good. So I'm not going to do that, I'm going to watch that properly in a second. So that's it.